Well, this just in, of course, the news this morning when it comes to the Knicks, since they decided to show Tom Thibodeau the door 8 days ago, the franchise has been working on a list of coaches. The latest name, Jason Kidd. They were trying to interview him, but the Mavs said, that's our guy. Still on a contract, of course, with Dallas as their HC, and they have no obligation to allow Kidd to interview with New York. So Dallas, not the only franchise to hand the Knicks a rejection letter after that one. Take another look at this. Ime Udoka also on the list there. Chris Finch out of Minnesota. That didn't happen. And one name outside of the NBA realm in the college ranks, one of our colleagues, head coach Jay Wright. Of course, the connections there with the national titles with Brunson, Hart, and Bridges. He is not interested. That is according to our CBS Sports Matt Norlander. So another no from the Knicks, but from the college realm. All right, a lot of misses for the Knicks, but no misses here when it comes to Nicole Moss. Look, your team has been fishing and coming back empty when it comes to coaches.
What is this?
Well, that's what you never been fishing before.
No.
You got.
Do I look like I've been fishing? Do I look like I have been fishing?
You've seen a movie. You know what it's like.
I've been on plenty of boats, but I've never been fishing.
Okay, well, this boat is coming up empty so far in terms of the Knicks. Your thoughts on this reach for coaches and not coming back with any W's?
I tweeted this yesterday. This was before the Jason Kidd situation came up, and this was about Chris Finch and Ime Udoka. And I said, look, I don't understand the ideology of going after coaches who are currently employed, and not only employed, but employed by playoff teams.
Yeah.
We're talking about Ime Udoka with the Houston Rockets. They were the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. They're going to be a playoff seed next season. You talk about Chris Finch, the Minnesota Timberwolves, also a playoff team. They just finished their run in the postseason. They'll be back there next season. So these are two coaches who are not really looking to go elsewhere because they are in a situation that has a lot of upside. There's a lot of opportunity with both of those teams. And when you talk about Ime Udoka specifically, one thing I was very perplexed about hearing his name thrown into the mix about was, like, Ime is one of those coaches who is very, very hands-on, which is why he does so well, I feel like, with this young Houston Rockets team, because he is going to be part of kind of molding and creating the team that he wants. And when you talk about, he did similar things with the Boston Celtics when he was there. When you talk about the New York Knicks, though, a lot of these guys are already in their ways. These guys already have a very particular way of how they play, what they say, how they do it, X, Y, and Z. And Ime, I don't feel like would have been a perfect fit for the Knicks anyway, because he's just not that type of a coach. He works better with a much younger core. But seeing these 3 names thrown into the mix, I mean, we're talking about Jason Kidd, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Kidd is on the verge of being the coach of Cooper Flag.
Yep.
Like, listen to how that sounds. You have Cooper Flag coming to you, which, listen, we had the conversation and we were all saying, I don't know how the Mavs got the #1 pick after trading Luka, but they did. And you really thought that the Mavs were going to adhere to your request to interview him, to potentially poach him after they just gave him an extension? It makes no sense. I have no idea what the Knicks are doing.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think it's been 6 times in the NBA that we've seen coaches traded. I can't honestly say if they were all playoff coaches, but this would actually be Jason Kidd's 2nd time because it happened to him once before.
Once upon a time, yeah.
Outside of that, though, you kind of touched on it in terms of the Knicks players in their ways. You talk about maybe the DNA and the philosophy changing, more offensive mind instead of defense, what we saw in the postseason. That second unit being offensively stronger than we've seen in the past. What type of coach fits this bill? Because, as you mentioned, that is the mecca of New York when it comes to hoops. That is a franchise that wants to win now.
Yeah, absolutely. And they need to win now, right? The window is small. When I say small, I put that in air quotes. I would say 3 to 4 years max. And I think, look, the type of coach that the Knicks need is, one, a coach that doesn't shy away from the limelight, has been in the limelight in some way, shape, or form. Because, to your point, New York is not an easy market to play in. And they love you when you win, but they hate you when you lose. And they're not afraid to tell you about either emotion. And you have to be a coach that doesn't get too high or too low on those things. You have to be a coach who understands that you're coming into an organization where these guys aren't spring chickens. You know, you're not talking about 21, 22-year-olds who are just full of opportunity and ability to be molded. A lot of these guys are kind of stuck in their ways, and you need to be able to figure out how to work with what you have at your disposal. Obviously, the roster needs help. I've been saying this, and I'm going to stick by it. I know Jay Wright is a name that has been thrown into the mix. He works here at CBS. I don't know if CBS would get mad for
Send
me.
him an email.
Listen, we can send him an email. We do. We have the company database. He has said, though, that he's not interested in coaching in the NBA. I don't know if that would change if it's his Villanova squad, essentially. He did win a couple championships with those guys. Yes. He knows how to work them. But I keep going back to Michael Malone. And I know that Michael Malone has some things about him that are similar to Tibbs about not playing the bench. And that's something that would have to be addressed right away by the Knicks front office. Like, look, you need to play your bench. You need to go into your rotations. We need you to be creative. But I think that when you look at the team that Michael Malone won with in Denver, there are a lot of similarities between that team and what the New York Knicks currently look like. And I think if anybody is poised to be in the position to take the Knicks to the next level, it's someone who's done it before. Yes, Johnny Bryant is a name that's been thrown into the mix, and we've seen throughout the NBA assistant coaches kind of getting the trend of being now head coaches. I just think when you talk about this Knicks team that needs to win relatively soon, has the extra pressure of being a New York basketball team, you need a coach who knows how to do it, who knows how to hoist up a trophy. And of all the names, available coaches out there, Michael Malone is the guy who has done it before anybody else.
As a chip in the last 2 years, of course, the one you're talking about with the Nuggets here. And you mentioned pressure. We're 2 weeks from the NBA draft. And just going back a little bit, Leon Rose back in 2020 before he hired Tibbs, he interviewed 10 coaches. So time is of the essence. Do you think they need to get it done before the draft at that point to have, hey, look, this is our head coach and we're moving forward?
No, because I don't think any coach that would be brought in, let's say before the draft, would have such a huge say-so in whatever player the Knicks went after. You know what I mean? I feel like that's going to be a front office decision, and they're the ones who understand what this team needs more than anybody. They've kind of been in the trenches of it. They've been through the different variations of this Knicks team. But you ideally, the timetable ideally, you'd like to have a coach by Summer League, because that is when your coach will be able to see the other teams that are in the mix, how those rookies look in comparison to the young talent that the Knicks have and the pieces that the Knicks get between now and then. So you have, give or take, about 5 weeks to find your guy, but it's not like an exorbitant amount of time. Time is of the essence, and next thing you know, we're talking about training camp. I mean, the season moves very, very quickly. But I would say for the Knicks, Summer League has to, prior to Summer League, needs to be their deadline.
I mean, this is just, just throwing a name in the hat, because I don't think you have to look that far. There's a guy who resides in New York. You know him very well.
I do?
His fans know him very. Yes.
Oh, my.
Spike Lee. All you got to do is look down the bench.
I thought you were going to say Timothy Chalamet.
Nah, he has to earn his stripes. Clearly, Spike has his stripes. Look, it just makes sense. Put him courtside. He can point. High five with Cat, and then when LeBron comes in the house, high five the opposing team as well.
We can do a whole coaching staff of Spike Lee, Timothy Chalamet, Ben Stiller, and bring me in for player development.
There you go. See, that's how it works out. And Charles Oakley could be an assistant too.
Charles Oakley may not be able to be part of it.
Spike can figure. He can do the right thing and get him back in there.
I see what you did there.
Exactly. Ashley Nicole Moss is always tapping it with us on the Knicks trying to find somebody. By the way, I guarantee you this would be the topic of conversation. You can catch on Triple Threat and wherever you get those pod needs. Also on CBS Sports Network.